All right, sorry for the delay, folks. A few technical difficulties tonight. Maybe. Okay, so this now says that I'm live. That looks like something right. Okay. It's not what I wanted to have up on screen, but there we go. Okay. It appears that we are now live. Sorry about that, folks. I'm going to basically start over. I kept that back where I want it to be. For some reason, the encoder lost the stream key, and then it wouldn't automatically start like it was supposed to. So I'm going to jump back to the beginning of where we were and where I was. And my goodness, the lighting looks dark tonight too. All right. So wavetable synthesis. The idea is that we have a file that contains a whole series of single cycle waveforms, and they're all run together in one file. For instance, if we look here, and the link to this website where you can download all kinds of free wavetables is in the show notes down below. If you look at the representation here next to Roland, this basically shows this broken down into several lines, but in the actual file, these are all just run together, one right after the other. We've got, a sine into various modified sines, making its way to a triangle, sawtooth, then we kind of morph our way to square waves, and then some more interesting and more esoteric wave shapes. Unfortunately, for some reason, I can't get this wavetable to load into Vital tonight. I've been able to get this one and other ones to load before, but we're going to work with Vital, and I have a similar wavetable loaded up in Vital, and we can take a look at that. Let me get the switcher control panel out of the way and that out of the way. And so I've loaded one for Ensoniq synthesizers. And so you get the idea. You see our first wave here is the sine wave. And to move through that whole long list of samples, we would use this slider. And you can see as we move through all the different shapes, each one of those is one segment of that file. The segments are typically either 1024 samples or 2048 samples, 2048 samples. Some use a sliding window size of about 4096 samples, or exactly 4096 samples. Starsky Carr did an excellent video that explains how all that gets sliced up, all the math involved, and exactly how that works. The link to that is below. And I do encourage watching that. He does a really good job of explaining it. But just real quick, I'll show you what the waveform looks like if we, whoops, lost my sampler. If we take a look at the one file, the one that I downloaded anyway, just to get just so you have an idea of what we're looking at here. Oh, great. All right, guys, I'll be back momentarily. Okay, we are back sort of where we left off. And let's see now if I can show you what that waveform is supposed to look like without crashing the computer again. Oh yeah, all my windows are closed. Oh, that's interesting. All right, so I may actually be able to get this to do what I wanted it to do earlier, which you all didn't see. So if you look here, let me move this down out of the way. If you look down here in the sampler instrument, and unfortunately I can't, I don't think I can stretch it out anymore, but you can see as we go through here the signs into the triangles, into the sawtooths, into the various square waves, and then into the more esoteric, interesting waveforms within this file. So each one of these waves is one of those, in the case of this file, I think, 1024 sample window or frame, some companies call it. So let's see if I can actually open that up the way I wanted to open it up, and bring up Vital, because I wanted to use that waveform because it's pretty simple. So let's see if I can get it to fly this time. Grab this guy. There we go. So we'll drive that in as a wavetable. And so now we can see, whoops, get that out of the way. So now you can see as we drag this slider up, we see each frame and each frame number. And if you look at the frame numbers, I know it's a little hard to see, but in the case of Vital, we're actually going between frames. As you can see all those different waveforms that are there. So if we get down here, and I don't know sure what I'm going to run into with this. Let's see. Yeah, so I should now be able to play the sine wave. Or if I drag up here and there's a triangle-ish, it's got a little bit of a buzz to it. One thing about wavetables and waveforms, if you're off even a little bit, you get a little bit of a jaggy in there somewhere. It really changes the sound in an amazing way, and that's in modern wavetable synthesis. That's what makes it a lot of fun. Is you can kind of get between the waves, or you can sweep through them smoothly, which you couldn't really do in, let me turn that down a little bit, that was a bit hot. See where I am here. Should be this guy. In early wavetable synthesizers, you got your waveform, whatever it happened to be, whatever frame you happened to be on, and that was your waveform. And then you could apply whatever synthesis bits you wanted to. Like you could take and we could take and start to make this more soft pad like by giving it a long attack and a long decay. Now I could apply a filter to this, but being a sine wave, it wouldn't have a whole lot of effect. So we can move up into something a little more interesting. And if we turn a filter on, and now we start to get to some more interesting kinds of sounds. So with a soft synth like Vital, we can actually really start to do some interesting things, even within these fairly plain wavetables. So let's do let's do that, just that. We're going to shorten this attack up a little bit. We'll start to make a sound. And let's open for now we'll open the filter up all the way. And I'm going to take an LFO and I want to have it sweep back and forth through a portion of the wavetable. So let's bring that up a little bit into there, say, and we'll grab this LFO, and I'm going to right click on the LFO and then drag it over to, actually I'm going to left click on the LFO, drag it over to here, to the slider, and you'll see this little ring opens up next to it. So if I just drop that there and now play the notes, you can see as the LFO goes, it works its way through the wavetable. Now that's not a terribly useful sound because it's going a fairly decent distance, but if we make it a lot more subtle, it's a little more interesting, and we can slow it down. It's triggering. Let's do that, I think it is. So that's where, this is the kind of place where the wavetable synthesis starts to get interesting. And so let's go ahead, and I'm going to kind of ditch this, we'll fool with this wavetable. Let's go out here to some of the interesting stuff. And I'm actually going to change the way we're modulating that. Go there. Now you can hear as it's going through, it's stepping through. You can hear it step through the waves. And that's because in the case of this particular wavetable, every step through the wavetable is a distinctly different waveform. And so it's really not very well set up for this kind of sweeping through the wavetable thing is smoothly. But what we can do is, let's remove this, and let's grab a random, and we'll take a random source, a random modulator, and we'll drag that up on there. And then the other thing we're going to do in this is I'm going to go in the little circle. I'm going to right click on the circle, and I can do two things here that will add some more interest to our patch. First, I want to make it bipolar. So that means that it goes that distance, but it swings up and backwards and forwards across 0. And this Perlin random mode is a kind of a smooth random, a smoothed version of a sample and hold. So the other thing that I'm going to do that will make things interesting here, more interesting here, is if I right click again, if I make this stereo, and this is where hopefully you've got headphones on, when I hit the chord again or hit the note again, what you'll hear is different things in each ear. So I'm going to slow that down a little bit. So right there, right in that little simple thing that we've done there, we've kind of sort of hit on some of the magic of wavetable synthesis and some of the neat things you can do with it. And we can continue on. We can take we can take this LFO that we had started here, and let's apply that to the cutoff frequency on the filter. Like so, and again, I'm going to make this one bipolar, at least to start, and we'll drag this down here somewhere. And I think I'll speed the filter up a little bit. And this can also be made stereo in the same way. So if we look closely, we can look a little more closely at the waveform down here in this analysis window. You start to see a lot about what's going on in the actual sound. So we basically have the start of an interesting pad sound here. Really without doing a whole lot of work. And of course, to make it a pad, we can add a nice dreamy pad. We can add some reverb, of course. And there's a kind of a joking premise in reverb in making ambient or pad sounds. You can never have too much, but I think you actually can. You want to crank your size and your time up a lot. But you don't want too much of it, so you bring the mix down. And we can do things like delay the start of the reverb. So we start out dry and then the reverb builds in. And we can add some delay. And I like to add my delay in this kind of thing after my reverb. And we will take this and we're going to make it fairly long too. Now I'm doing these as synchronized. You don't have to do sync, but I've got it synced to time. And we're going to make this a ping pong. Probably get a little bit too much mix and a little too much feedback on that. So, let's try and take this a little further. And we're going to turn on, in this case, I'm going to turn on just a very simple waveform. Go to the basic shapes, and just grab that sine wave, and we're going to pitch it down an octave, or 12 semitones. Too much of that. Turn it off. Turn it down. And being a sine wave, we're not going to get any real filtering to speak of out of it. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to route that straight to the effects section. So we've got oscillator 1 warping through this wavetable. That is running through filter 1. Now filter 1 right now is just using this LFO, and we'll change up, do something a little more interesting with the next waveform, because we're going to turn on all the oscillators by the time we're done, and create a real motion, interesting motion pad drone kind of sound. All right. So we'll go in here, and I'm going to go to user, and I'm going to find this hot mess waveform. Actually, let me show you real quick how hot mess came about. One thing you can do in that's interesting in Vital is you can draw your own wavetables. And to do that, you go into the window here, click the pen, and this brings you into the wavetable editor. And you can slide through, and there's a number of different ways you can drive this or draw this. But let's say I want to add a new one here. So I go to this point, and you can see as we go through this ruler, you can see it working its way through the wavetable that I drew. Okay, so let's say that here I want to do something a little more extreme. So what I can do is come in here, and I do what's called add a modifier. I'm sorry, I don't do that. I just click here. Create a keyframe. And so now I'll draw, just go in here and draw a new waveform to go in there. And the more complex your waveform, the more interesting your sound. And to add each of those points, all I'm doing is double-clicking on the line. And then to do these bends, you'll see a little spot there in the middle that I'm grabbing. Okay, so now we've got we've added some more to my hot mess wavetable. So as you go through here, you can see that we can get through all that stuff that I drew. So we're going to use this one pitched way up. And so you hear it there. We're going to run this one through filter 2 and turn filter 2 on. And we're going to switch this to more of a band pass filter, and we're going to start it up here somewhere. We're going to take another random, and we're going to drag that onto the cutoff. And I'm going to make it my favorite bipolar and stereo. I make unless I'm doing something certain way, it's not like a pad kind of sound, or I'm doing something very specific. A lot of stuff, if I'm looking for a lot of motion, I'll do the bipolar and stereo thing. So now if I do this, and I'm going to change the random mode on here to make it more obvious what's going on. Make it kind of fast. And then I'm going to bring the level way down, so it's just kind of barely in there. So you hear just some little shimmering going on the top. And finally, we're going to add a little bit of, we're going to set it so a little noise comes in and out. And white noise tends to be kind of harsh, but I'm going to go to the pink noise, or the brown noise, I'm sorry. So you hear that in there. We're going to do two things to modulate this. We're going to start with an envelope. So we'll grab another envelope and we'll pop that onto the level. And again, right off the bat, I'm not going to necessarily make this one bipolar, but we are going to make it stereo. And I'm going to give it a fairly long attack. And we'll have this kind of fade in. The longer it's held in, this will tail off really, really slowly too. And I'm going to bring that level way down. Way down. And I'm going to take the output of this and I'm going to run it again through that bandpass filter. And we can set the level up a little bit after doing that. Now, one thing you have to be careful with pads is that they can tend to take over a lot of space sonically. So this is where you're going to be looking at something like span to look and see where it's sitting in space. Or in this case, since this is the only sound we have so far, we can just go into the Advanced tab in Vital, and we can look at the spectrum analyzer down in here to see how much auditory space we're taking up. So this might actually play as it is play pretty well with other sounds, as long as it's not brought up too loud in the mix. But if it is a problem, you can take care of that with an EQ. Like we could turn an equalizer on here, and that's the first thing in the chain. First thing in the chain. So if we decided there was an area that we needed to take out, let's say we need to take out a bunch of the mids, for instance, we can go ahead and say, somewhere in here it needs to come out. And we need to take a fairly broad swath out, so we'll widen that up, and we want to bring it down a bit there. And if we now go back to that spectrum analyzer, you'll see there's a fair amount less energy in here than there was before. So that might make it play a little better with other sounds, lead sounds or plucks or anything like that that are going on. And we've also left room here, down here at the left, for a nice bass. Even if we do come down low on the keyboard, we can still get a nice, have nice room for a bass sound of some sort. So if we were to start using this in a track, we could come here and let's just grab a loop here, and let's just record. We'll just record a basic, just a basic G. It'll just be like the first and the root and fifth, and we'll just kind of hold that for a measure or two. So you get to hear all the other stuff that's currently on this tracks, or on this project left over from January. Sorry about that, guys. But now we have that. Let's see. I have no idea what else was playing, so let's just turn everything else off for now. No idea what that was. It won't be anything external because nothing external is turned on. Okay. So now if I play this back, it's probably whatever was over there. So now we've got this nice drone pad, and what I'm going to do is it's 20 bars long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead down here, and I'm going to insert another scene, and we'll just drag this down here to our new scene. Put everything else in stop. Okay. So now I could find another sound that does still work properly, because I haven't broken. No idea what this is in pigments, but let's see. And I have no idea what automation or anything else is left on that track from the last day of January, so I'm kind of flying blind over there. As I mentioned, when things weren't working, I walked in the door at about back home from visiting a client. I got back in here about 5 minutes to 8, and then of course nothing worked. So anyway. Now we can go ahead back to this, back over to here, and we can do all kinds of really neat things now that we've got this basic good shell of a pad. Excuse me. We can do different kinds, more modulations, and one of the things in a pad or a drone, modulation is always good, and the more the merrier. So right now we've got just one modulation on the wave, and that's coming from random 1. This guy is just doing that, and that's fine. We're going to go ahead and leave that bass drum, but I think I may try and do a little more interesting sound than just a sine wave down there. Don't want to saw. just a little bit more of a buzz from a triangle is nice. Because now we can take that and we can route that through filter 1. And now even the drone gets a little more interesting. So like if we listen to just that. So now there's even a subtle motion there, and we can take and even better, we'll go ahead and let's put 3 voices of unison on that, tighten them up a little bit. Just very subtle. And let's bring that guy back in. And I think I'm going to bring another LFO in. And I'm going to put that on the position of the noise. So we'll come down here, and that's one we definitely want to make bipolar. And we'll slow this guy down. And we're going to take that same LFO and we're going to put it on the position of these guys, stereo position of these guys. But what we're going to do with this one is we'll make it bipolar. And then I'm going to take, and instead of making it 1, I'm going to make it negative, like negative huge, so it's moving opposite the noise, the brown noise source. And we don't have to do that kind of thing so much here with this wave because of the stereo LFO that's going and random that's going through the samples. Some other neat things we can do is we can change the way it interprets the samples. So if we do like this inharmonic stretch and turn that up, let's turn these guys off for a minute. You can get some subtly interesting noises there. And let's go ahead and put that on an LFO. Why not? Whoops. Come on. So Vital is a playground. It's a playground for wave shaping and wave manipulation. And it's extremely powerful. You can do all. I've only barely touched on some of the things we can do with Vital. I'm actually going to crank up the voice count. Got a little bit too much of this going on. Turn that down. Well, I thought we were moving through hot mess. We need to move through hot mess. Let's grab another random. Pop that on there. There we go. So one thing I didn't show you, we'll go ahead and look at that real quick, is right now we're looking at two-dimensional representations of these wavetables. And it may have been a little clearer if I'd started from the get-go and not looked and showed you what this looks like in 3D. So I'm going to stop playback and look at this at 3D. So if you're looking at this representation now in oscillator 1, you can see all of the various wavetables kind of stacked up against one another. So you've got the sine wave through to the sawtooths and the squares, and then into those more complex waveforms that we saw as we move through. That's another representation. So you can kind of get an idea. Like if you look at basic shapes, you can see that there are only, a half a dozen different shapes there. If we move through, we're going to get sine, we're going to get triangle, which is where we're sitting now. We're going to get a sawtooth, and then we're going to get some various pulse waves. Hot mess, which is the one that I drew, looks like this. And so you can kind of sort of, if you're looking through wavetables, trying to choose a wavetable for a sound, if we come up in here, we can start looking at these things and say, well, is that going to be an interesting one or not? So if I look into, go to the factory, and whoops, don't click on that. And let's look at this one, for instance. You can see that's got a fairly interesting look as well. So if we play this now, you can hear it moving through, and you can see it moving through the two separate stereo halves moving around through the waveform in that one pretty clearly. The thing about this is this is so much further advanced from what wavetable synthesizers were, hardware synthesizers were when they first started showing up on the scene in the late 80s, early 90s, where you first started getting wavetable synths that people could afford. So this ability to do all this complex simultaneous manipulation of these waveforms is it's just it makes making sounds a lot of fun. And it looks like I lost my Roland one. Let's go with you see I've got lots of these in here. What's this do? So I do a lot of exploring, obviously, in when I'm working with this. And I know if you watch someone like Chris Bryan at Signs of Life, you'll see he's got these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of waveforms or wavetables that he can go through when he's making sounds. Let's make this a little more interesting. Make it bigger. And let's turn this down even more. because sometimes it's all about being subtle. Which, if you know me, you know I'm not very good, always very good at subtle. So, and I think I really want to go back to that Roland wavetable that I had in there. And since I didn't import it properly, I'm going to have to just drag it in again. But that's okay. There we go. So that is wavetable synthesis. In Vital, in a nutshell. And I mentioned too that we can do things other than just pads. In fact, why don't we go ahead and do one real quick? Let's do a pluck to put on top of this, and I'm gonna have to carve up some space in here to do it. Let's see. We'll make that go away, and we'll grab another Vital instance. And let's do a pluck this time. So plucks are pretty easy. If we go in here to find a waveform, doesn't really matter what it is. Let's go down here and let's find, well, let's hit that granular upgrade one and look at it in 3D. Yeah, that should be fine. We'll put that here. So plucks are really easy. We do two things. Plucks, for a pluck, we take and we do a go back to the screen there. So I've opened up that granular upgrade wavetable in another instance of Vital. And so what we're going to do, I chose a place that looks kind of interesting in the waveform. Let's see what this sounds like as it is. Oops, got to turn it on. Got to turn the track on. Well, we got to turn Stepic off. Actually, that's fine. We'll leave that on while we're playing. Okay, so for a pluck, we want a short attack, which we've got, and we want it to go away fairly quickly. So we don't want really any sustain at all. So we're going to bring that all the way down. And our decay. And we're going to take this and we're going to run it through filter 1. And we're going to open that up a bit. We're going to take a second envelope, and that is going to go on our cutoff. And we're going to want basically the same thing as we had in envelope 1, except we want it to be even shorter still. So we'll bring our sustain down again. And so we've got a basic pluck just that easily. Let me turn it up. And I want this up an octave. So I've got the sequences set for a bass, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of cheat here. And we're going to take and run this up an octave. And of course, we're going to want to add reverb and delay to that. So if we go into our effects, and we'll go ahead and stick our delay on. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a dotted eighth. And I'm going to make it ping pong. Bring it down in the mix a little bit. Put some reverb on it. Again, we'll make it pretty big. And so right away, now we've got a basic track, basic ambient track going at this point. Of course, there's a lot more you can do. We do another pluck, we do another pad, and we have the pads fading in and out. But we can do all of the sounds that you want to do, or all the sounds that you need to do for this kind of thing, in Vital. So if you have one of the really fun things here is that if you have the basic version of any DAW. I'm using Ableton here, but you could use Bitwig, or you could use Studio One or Cubase, or whatever DAW you want on a PC or Mac. And if you have get a copy of Vital, which is free, and the link to that is down below. You can build these sounds that quickly. Now in Ableton, I've not really fooled with it much. Nothing says we can't do it right now, though. Let's see, what am I using here? That's Vital. Okay. In Ableton itself, it comes with it, and along with many other software or many other DAWs, we have instruments, and there's a wavetable instrument in Ableton Live. As I said, I've not really fooled with this much, but there's waveforms, and we should be able to pretty quickly put together an interesting pluck. And you can see these are laid out exactly the same way. And if I do this correctly, turn it on, turn off Stepic for now, because that's playing chords. So this is a much more basic wavetable synth, but it'll do most of these things that we want to do, or that we've been doing. Excuse me. So we've got a couple of LFOs. I can take this LFO and go to the matrix, and I can say I want LFO 1 to modulate oscillator 1 position, and I can turn that up some. And when I play, you can see it's moving through the wavetable. And we can choose a starting point in the wavetable. So let's say we start there. And we can go into the LFO itself, and we can determine how fast we want it to go. Let's make it synchronized. And we're going to make it 16ths. And we're going to turn the depth down a lot. So we'll go back to the matrix, and we'll take this. And let's see. So we've done that, and we can play with the filter. We can put We've got our amplitude envelope, so we can do the same thing with that we did with in Vital. We can go ahead and make this another pluck, so we'll bring that down. And we're going to kill this tack even more. Sounds like we've got a little kind of a bad banjo is the word I'm looking for. So let's make it a little ruder. Crank the resonance up here. And we're going to take envelope 2 in the matrix, and we're going to say, envelope 2 to filter frequency. Here we go to filter frequency. And we'll bring the bass frequency down. Actually, let's do this. Let's make that go negative. Turn this all the way up. You hear it kind of quacking there. That might be a little too extreme. Let's go ahead and thicken that up. We'll make this, give this a shimmer unison, just to make it interesting. A little too much. Now, unlike Vital, this does not have a effects section built in, but we've got some good effects within Ableton. So let's bring a delay. We'll just use the basic delay. Where is it? Drag that over here, and we'll ping pong it, and we'll make it a little drier, a little less feedback. Now, one of the big advantages to, at least in Ableton Live, the inbuilt or included instruments is they use almost no CPU power. They're very efficient. So if you notice up there, our CPU right now, we're running at about 26%. If I come over and actually power the Wavetable synth down, we're running at 23 or 24%. Now, I'm not doing a lot necessarily in this Wavetable synth, but that kind of shows you how efficient that inbuilt synth is. So if we start stepping up, yeah, no, that's not going to work. Turn that off. But we could record another loop for this to play. I'm not super enamored with this sound, but the idea was just to show you that it's there and it's included. I don't know if other DAWs include a wavetable synth or not. I guess some do, some don't. I'm sure Bitwig does. I don't remember about Studio One what all it had. I think it had a sample player, but I don't know that it had a wavetable synth, at least not at the time that I was using it. I wonder what's giving it that snap. I think that's what I object to. Maybe we back this off just a touch. Yeah, but still there. I tend to like what comes out of Vital a lot, and while it uses a bit more CPU, it doesn't cost anything out of your pocket, which is something that I really like about it. I'm really dry. So I think that'll about do that. What I'll do is, for those who watch this later, go ahead and throw questions in the comments if you have questions about anything. And what I'll do is I'll take the questions and come back and do some follow-up videos if anyone's interested or anyone wants to see any more of this kind of stuff. And down the road too, we can take a look at not just Vital, but we can start looking at other similar wavetable synths. I have Pigments as well, and I have Hive, which I haven't really got into learning too much, but we could look at Hive as well and learn that one together. Like I said, I like only starting with Pigment with Vital because it is freely available and it runs on any platform. Or any computer platform. It'll run on Mac OS, it'll run on Windows, or it will run on Linux. So it's freely available and easy to get to. A link for that is below. I'll double check and make sure I do actually have it there. Let me look at that right now. Try to anyway. Technology is really eluding me tonight. More, it says. Yep, so I've got links down there for a couple of things. One, I'll reference it again. Watch Starsky Carr's video on making your own wavetables. He goes into the weeds. But it's really an interesting discussion on wavetables. He describes it much better than I can. And he gets into the math of how to determine what's the best note to sample if you're going to be in the case of his particular video, what he's doing is he is taking and making a set of wavetables based on the old Prophet VS virtual wavetable or vector synthesizer. So he's basically sampling that and turning that into wavetables, and then loading that into other hardware synths. But what he's doing can also apply equally to Vital or Pigments or Hive or any other wavetable soft synth. All of the same ideas and concepts apply equally. So watch that video. It's again, I can't stress enough how educational that video is, and how well he describes what's going on. You can get a free copy of Vital, and the link is below. The wavetable site that we visited earlier on, which I've lost because I had to reboot, but it is here we go. This one, They've got, I don't know how many, 695 sets of wavetables, and you can download any of them. They're all free. I will say that some of them are better than others. Some of them, the frame sizes are not quite right, or they don't line up quite correctly, and so you'll get a little glitch or pop that kind of sort of ruins the waveform. It's really important that that cycle begin and end at the same spot, reference to 0. When I was doing sound design and using wavetables every day for work, I always found that it was best to start and end at what's called a 0 crossing. So when that wave comes up through 0, that's your start. The wave cycle does its thing, comes down through 0 and comes back up to start the cycle over again. It crosses 0. That's where you want to be doing your loops, and that is or setting the start and end of your frame or position. That's kind of crucial. The fact that and the other thing is they've all got to be whatever the correct length is for the synthesizer that you're working with, either 1024 samples or 2048 samples or 4096 samples. Those are the three most common wavetable window sizes or frame sizes. So that one's don't miss that. You can get the wavetables. And then one of the other things that he talks about using and that I use often, I don't have it on this computer for some reason, but I use a lot for manipulating and editing waveforms, is Audacity. It is also free. And I know there's some little controversy here and there about the folks who own Audacity these days, but to me, what they're supposedly doing is, I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody, so I don't know what they're going to get. My understanding is that what they're taking is non-identifiable usage statistics, so they know what features are being used and how to make the software better, supposedly. So I've not had any problems with it, so that's kind of where I'm going. Those tools are the ones that where I do, and these are the ones that are key to me. They do the most. So one other thing I want to show you real quick, just dawned on me that I need to show you this. Once you have a sound in Vital that you like, like this one. This is actually a fairly cool sound. You can take this, because like I say, we're using 25% 25% the CPU here. We can take this whole sound and we can distill this to a single wavetable. So I'm going to stop playback. All those reverbs and everything will tail out. Now let me see if I remember how to do this. I found this the other day. Is it here? Oh shoot, where was it? There's a way in Vital that we can take this whole thing, this whole patch, and turn it into a wavetable. And where did that go? Where did that go? It's not there, dummy. It's not in effects, it's not in matrix. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Well, we'll go ahead and save this preset while we're at it. So we're going to call, what should we call this? We'll call it Roland's Pad. And we'll save that. Okay. So now no matter what I do, I won't lose that. And there was... Oh, it was so simple. It's not in there. Well, shoot, that's embarrassing. Oh, there's some other things we didn't do too to this sound. You know, one thing things we didn't do, we did not assign the mod wheel to anything. We did not assign aftertouch to anything. All of that can be done through the matrix or through just dragging and dropping. It really upsets me that I can't find that function. I guess I should have written it down. All right, well, we'll come back to that. I'll do that again. When I come back, that'll be one of the things that we touch on in a future video on this. Because that's really kind of a nice function, because you can then take that wavetable that you build and use it in another synth. Or even if you wanted, for instance, take that wavetable, assuming you may need to manipulate it in something like Audacity to get the frame sizes all correct and sample rate and everything correct, pitched correctly, all that kind of thing. But then you could take that and put it into a hardware synth like a microfreak, and then use it in hardware or in a wave state, or mod wave, or any number of other wavetable synths, hardware synths. And you see I'm looking off. I'm looking at the screen just to see if that function drops out at me or jumps out at me. And I'm just not seeing it. Still looking. All right, well, probably I guess when I come back in a couple of weeks, I'll take a look at your questions. We'll look at that, and we'll come back to this same patch, and or to this same preset, and we can do some more with it. So for those who have stuck it out till the end, I appreciate it. Again, sorry for the late start. For those who were live, and for the technical issues, but yeah, this is the beauty of live, what we'll say live television. So anyway, if you liked what you've seen so far of this wave surfing with Vital, I encourage you to please hit the like button, and would love it if you'd subscribe to the channel. You get to see more. That's not working. Interesting. And stop by, visit my website. It's at GerenM.net. That link is below. And I will see you next time back here again in about 2 weeks. We're going to do doing live streams on the 2nd and 4th Mondays of each month at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So again, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. And thanks for watching this in the replays. And look forward to seeing you again soon. I'm going to go ahead and start some, since we've got some nice sounds, go ahead and try starting that up again and see what it does. Still works good. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you all soon.